All right. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is October 19th, 2025. So, just got off work about an hour or two ago, about 2 hours ago. Just been chilling. My internet is acting wonky, so hopefully this gets uploaded pretty quickly. If not, maybe tomorrow you'll see this. Who knows? So, as far as updates, work was okay. Pretty chill night. I'm off today, technically, because it's 2 a.m. So, me and Sammy, I did an episode earlier today. We had planned on maybe going to the crash landing sites of Pilot Mattel. Go check out last episode if you want to know. Basically, it was a World War II veteran pilot chasing down a UFO and crashed his plane and died. And they do have a landmark and parking lot, so you can actually go and see the spot where he crashed. We were going to do that, but I guess we're supposed to get a bunch of rain today, so I might just end up just kind of chilling at the house. So I probably will end up doing maybe 2 or 3 podcasts tomorrow. Usually on my days off, I'll do at least 1 or 2, if I'm not doing anything else, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you want to donate, that would be cool. It helps the channel, helps pay for pens, papers, notebooks. I'm going to throw stuff, all that jazz. Just helps the channel. But, yeah, that's about it for an update. As you guys know, during the month of October, it's been a trend on this channel that during the month of October, I always try to do Halloween related subjects, as far as like paranormal, ufology, just anything spooky, true crime. And sadly, like, if you guys have been long-time listeners of the channel, you know back in the past that I used to be able to cover those subjects more, but as crazy as the world is now, sadly, I have to cover more of reality of, like, dark shit that's going on now, as far as, like, World Economic Forum, AI, Epstein list, stuff that's more important to cover. But during the month of October, I tried to cover paranormal and fun stuff, at least for 1 month out of the year. I'm like, okay, we can do some more paranormal and fun stuff, escape from reality. So I say escape from reality, and we're going to cover reality. So I had never really been a huge fan of the Stranger movies. And for the first time ever, it was years ago, and Strangers 2 had come out. And I was with a coworker, and she's like, yeah, dude, it's based off a true story. And it's based off of, like, this murder that happened in a trailer park. And I'm a huge fan of Last Podcast on the Left. And I had actually heard an episode covering the real murders that happened in a trailer park. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go see this movie. Because if you guys know anything about me, like, for one, I have like a little side series I have called Conspiracy Cinema. So go check out that playlist. And for those movies, I only cover and review movies that are either conspiracy related or based off of, like, history or true crime, stuff like that. So immediately when I heard that it was based off a true story, we went to the theaters and seen it. I actually liked it a lot. Like, I thought it was a really good fucking film. Obviously, I know there's a artistic license with anything as far as Hollywood adaptions to true stories, but the reason I wanted to cover this is, to me, it's pretty current, because the other day And I had seen the trailer because we'd watched The Conjuring. We did a movie review on it a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Go check out that movie review; it's pretty good. But I'd seen the trailer for a new Strangers, the Strangers, and I was like, okay. Um, so I was like, okay, I've never covered the Strangers on this channel, so I'm gonna cover it. The true stories behind the Strangers series. So let's get into it. A 2008 home invasion horror film starring Liv Tyler. I didn't know she was in the first one. So, I mean, I don't remember in the second one. So, I love Liv Tyler. That's one of my Hollywood crushes. Pale brunettes. That's my thing. Plus her dad, Steven Tyler. You know, like you could just hang out with Steve Tyler all day. I'm a huge fan of Aerosmith. You know. A 2008 home invasion horror film starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. So 2008, dude, I didn't realize the series was that old because I watched The Strangers Chapter 2, and that doesn't seem that long ago. It seems like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The Strangers is inspired by a true story, which only adds to the movie's overall sense of terror. While the horror genre is often associated with tales of monsters, ghosts, and other supernatural creatures, some of the most effective horror films of all time rely on real-world possibilities. The Strangers series, which continues with the 2018 sequel, The Strangers Prey at Night, so that must be the one that I've seen, Prey at Night, which is based in a trailer park. And the 2024 prequel meets reboot The Strangers Chapter 1 leverages its real-life origins for the better, all the while paying homage to 80s slashers. Maybe it was the 2024, I don't know. We'll find out. Because they're going to go through and tell how each one was inspired by true stories, based off of true stories, you know. Despite divided reviews, the original 2008 film's portrait of a sadistic and chilling home invasion is unrivaled. In need of a vacation, a couple, Tyler and Speedman, venture to a remote home only to be terrorized by 3 masked strangers. As the couple fight... So basically, to sum it up, it's like 2 or 3 masked strangers. They each have a different like animal mask or like different mask in general. Like one wears a sack over his head. I think one's a bunny rabbit. They're the main characters in every Strangers film, but they're based off of actual killers. So the crime and murders and stuff and scenario and scenes are based off of actual murders, but they use the same villains, you know. As the couple fight to survive against the unrelenting killers, Man in the Mask, Dollface, and Pinup Girl, The Strangers leans into the horrors of its very plausible premise. In fact, more than one harrowing real-life crime forms the backbone of The Strangers' core narrative, including several haunting murders. The Strangers' true story, real-life crimes that inspired the movie. So, the film's creator cites 3 key sources of inspiration. According to The Strangers writer and director Brian Bertino, the film's true story is primarily based on 3 real-life happenings. Which I do know the first Stranger movie was based off of the Manson murders. So the first inspiration is the series of murders committed by the Manson family in 1969, later nicknamed Helter Skelter. Which, by the way, we've done like 3 episodes on Manson. Go check that out. I have a Manson playlist if you watch on YouTube. Go check it out. It's pretty dope. I'm very highly interested in Manson. The killings were organized by Charles Manson in an ill-conceived bid to start a race war that the cult leader himself had predicted by listening to Beatles albums and doing LSD. In particular, and reading the Bible, Book of Revelation. The Manson family's brutal killings of actress Sharon Tate at her own Los Angeles home stands out as clear inspiration for The Strangers, which boast gruesome stabbings of its own. One night when a young Bertino parents weren't home, someone knocked on the door and asked for someone who didn't live there. The second inspiration for The Strangers' true story is the 1981 Ketty Cabin Murders. This is the one that I seen in theaters, which saw 4 people killed in a small California resort town. Disturbingly, the motive for the murders is still unknown, as the Ketty Police Department never caught the real-life killers. That's kind of crazy, a little spooky. Even now, the case remains unsolved. Obvious similarities to The Strangers' premise abound, with 3 masked assailants and the strangers wandering off into the morning chill after massacring the couple simply because they were home. Maybe that's not the one that I've seen. The third and final slice of real-life inspiration for The Strangers derives from Bertino's own experience. Oh, wow. So this is like his true story of something that he experienced. One night, when a young Bertino's parents weren't home, someone knocked on the door and asked for someone who didn't live there. Unlike in The Strangers, however, the would-be burglars were knocking on doors to rob houses that were empty for the night instead of attacking people inside their homes. Sorry, man, the wind is blowing. Something just hit the window or door or outside of the house. It's spooky. It's fitting. Sorry, I live in a little trailer. It's a little scary sometimes. When the wind starts to blow really bad. So, still, the experience left an indelible mark on Bertino that later morphed into the terrifying portrait of random violence that The Strangers movie depicts. Where James Hoyt and Kristen McKay really were James Hoyt and Kristen McKay really murdered. So, I'm guessing that's the actual people that live and the other character were based off of. Given that The Stranger's true story inspiration is a blend of several actual murders, it's fair to assume that James Hoyt, which is played by Speedman, and Kristen McKay Tyler were real murder victims. In actuality, however, they are fictional characters who were made up for the movie. The two were constructs. No couple with those names were murdered in real life to the writer's knowledge. Still, the movie's central figures act as conduits for the real-life murders that inspired The Strangers. So, while James Hoyt and Kristen McKay aren't real people, they are proxies for those who have been randomly targeted for senseless violence. The Strangers' realistic scenario is what makes it so disturbing. The horror movie's what-if premise makes it chilling. Non-paranormal horror movies prey on viewers' more grounded fears, which makes it even more unsettling. When a terrifying film is based on true events, The Stranger's true story is no exception. The knowledge that real events inspired the film makes the movie especially chilling. In fact, that's why properties The Conjuring universe are so popular. Even if a viewer doesn't believe in ghosts, Ed and Lorraine Warren were real paranormal investigators. What works about The Strangers is that it centers on a senseless act of violence that truly could have happened to anyone. So, it's funny they brought up Ed and Lorraine. Unlike slasher movies based around larger-than-life characters like Jason Voorhees, The Strangers chronicles a random and intentionally brutal home invasion. The killers psychologically terrorize and physically assault the couple they hold captive. The reveal that James and Kristen were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time makes the terror more palpable. True crime series have surged in popularity because they allow viewers to confront their greatest fears at a safe distance. Similarly, The Strangers is intriguing because it exposes viewers to a chilling what-if story. By the way, dude, true crime. I grew up on true crime. My mom was a big fan of true crime. We had cable TV, and I remember her watching true crime like a lot. Um, Women, man, women love true crime. I don't know what it is, but I love true crime too. Um, and dude, when they're talking about the popularity rising in true crime, I swear to God, if you put true crime in your tags, because when you're making a video or a podcast, if you put true crime podcast in your tags, your video will blow the fuck up. I covered true crime once in a blue moon. I would like to cover it more, but sadly, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's way too much what I feel is important stuff going on in the world that we need to talk about. Um, but I mean, I've covered a lot of true crime on here, and every time I put out a true crime episode, dude, it's a fucking banger. Like, people love it, you know? I think that's why last podcast on the left did so good, is because, like, most of what they cover is true crime. The Strangers sequel is just as unsettling and realistic. The Strangers, Prey at Night, builds on the series' grounded horror. While its release wasn't quite the sensation that The Strangers was in 2018, or was, the 2018 sequel, Prey at Night, this might be the one I've seen. I can't remember which one. I just know it was based in a trailer park. I'm sorry. um, is an underrated horror gem that continues to build on the cult classic movie's depiction of plausible real-life horrors. Much like its predecessor, The Strangers 2 drew on several real-life inspirations. So yeah, this is the one it has to be. Again, the murder of Sharon Tate at the hands of Charles Manson's followers provides fodder for the film series in the second installment. The trio of weapon-wielding strangers terrorize a family of four who are vacationing in a remote trailer park. This is the one. Okay. This is the one I seen. Sorry, it was going to drive me nuts. And it was a pretty damn good movie. And last podcast on the left, by the way, like I said, was the ones who I heard the actual true story from. It's an insane story. It's a crazy story. So they were vacationing in a remote trailer park. Again, sometimes a grounded scare is more effective than a supernatural one. How the Strangers turned into a horror franchise. Strangers' true story inspirations definitely lent to the success of the first movies, allowing it to grow into a blockbuster sleeper hit. In addition to spawning the less popular The Strangers Prey at Night, the first film in the horror series kickstarted a soon-to-be franchise. The newest film, The Strangers Chapter 1, is not just a prequel to the first two films, but the first in a standalone trilogy that occurs in the same continuity as the 2008 and 2018 movies. I do want to see the other Strangers now that I've seen the second one and actually approve. Not I ain't gonna lie, dude, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to movies or just media in general. Music, books, movies, shows. Like, I'm really, honestly, I'm very snobbish. Like, it has to be something I'm like super interested in, or I don't know. My wife can tell you, like, you don't like anything. I'm like, no, I do like a lot of stuff. It's just I'm very picky, on what type of media I consume. While the movies were set up as prequels, The Strangers Chapter 1 didn't add much of anything to the mythology of these movies, nor offer any more insight into the mysterious killers themselves. The first movie in the new trilogy, by the way, I'm kind of glad that it doesn't offer much insight into the killers themselves. I like, from what I watched, the mystery of not knowing much about the killers, because knowing that they're based off of real killers, I'm kind of cool with The Mask, because they play real killers in all three films, which are based off of actual murders. So, like, I don't want to know too much about the villains, because it's like, I want to imagine them as the actual killers that really did this shit. You know what I mean? So I'm glad they don't do that. The first movie in the new trilogy did very much feel like a remake of the original, with some scenes directly mirroring the 2008 movie. However, it is possible that the next two installments could reveal more, with The Strangers Chapter 2 expected to be released in late 2024. The Strangers Chapter 3 release date not yet announced, which I'm not sure which one is out in theaters right now, but yeah, there's one of them out right now. I know for a fact in theaters because I've seen the trailer, and I literally, where I work at Clark's, the gas station, a regular that comes in, he came in with his wife and was like, yeah, dude, we went and seen the new Strangers, you know. Is The Strangers the most unsettling true story adaptation? The grounded nature of the movie combined with true story leaves a lasting impression. There are a number of horror movies that are based on true stories. And like The Strangers, many of them take liberties with the facts of real life case. Which, by the way, we covered, we did an Ed Gein episode earlier this week, and we kind of got into that on how Hollywood's been doing this forever. So, like Chucky, based off a true story. People are like, what? That's crazy. It's based off of Robert the Doll. Norman Bates, Psycho, is based off of Ed Gein. Because when we did the Ed Gein episode, go check it out, we were talking about how Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill is based off of Ed Gein, but he's also based off of, not Dahmer. Who's the handsome one that the chicks loved, who drove around in a punch buggy? I can't remember. Chicks loved him, and he drove around in a punch buggy, and he used to be a suicide hotline operator. What the fuck? Ted Bundy. Buffalo Bill's based off of Ted Bundy and Ed Gein. Hannibal Lecter's based off of Ed Gein. Like, yeah. It's... Hollywood's been doing it forever. Another one who's based off of Ed Gein. Leatherface. I remember my parents being, like, big fans of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At least my mom. And I remember being a 90s kid, like, pre-internet, and I guess at the beginning of, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacres, it was like, this is based off a true story, you know? And when we didn't have internet back then, you know? So, like, you believed it. You're like, oh my God, this is fucking real. Out there in Texas, some dude with a chainsaw and wearing people's faces as masks was, like, murdering people. This is real. And what it was based off of Ed Gein, which, if you actually studied Ed Gein, he was actually like a very quiet, kind of mousy kind of guy. Just, he wasn't all there in the head. Like, he was kind of a little retarded. So, like, he just kind of, like, smiled, and he would eat apple pie with a slice of cheese on it. Like, real weird guy, you know? But yeah, Leatherface, Hannibal Lecter, they're all based off of fucking Ed Gein, you know? So it's kind of funny because, like, back in the day, Hollywood could get away with it better, of being like, this is a true story. But now that we have the internet, they can't pull it off as good, I feel like. Because people will go, there's no way this is real. And then they Google it and go, it's kind of real, you know? Like, 1% of it's real, or 5%. But I enjoy doing these type of episodes. There's a really good podcaster. Her name is Serial Killing a Podcast. I know it's a weird name, but she's cool as hell. I actually emailed her and talked to her through email. I wanted to get her on the show or do a podcast with her, but she declined. Well, didn't even decline. She just ghosted me. But she has a really good podcast, and she does the same thing. She covers the true story behind movies. Those are like my favorite episodes because it's kind of cool. It's fun. There are a number of horror movies that are based on true stories, and like The Strangers, many of them take liberties with the facts of the real life cases. However, even with The Strangers bearing only a slight resemblance to some true crime cases, it is still more unsettling than other horror movies of this kind because of how plausible it all seems, confronting the audience with the fact that while it may not have happened as the movie suggests, it certainly could have. Horror movies like the Amityville Horror and The Conjuring claim to be based on real stories, but the fact that they deal with the supernatural allows the audience to feel distant from real cases. Similarly, movies like The Silence of the Lambs and Texas Chainsaw Massacre draw inspiration from real-life serial killers like Ed Gein and Ted Bundy. Told you. But so many facts are changed and the gruesome details so horrific that it doesn't seem real. However, The Strangers takes the very real fear of the feeling of someone being in the house and the disturbing reality of random home invasions to scare the audience. The lack of motives for the killings is also disturbing, as it suggests there is nothing the victims could have done to avoid this. Yeah. Psychopathy and sociopathy. Psychopathy. They did not build a house on a burial ground or open a magic puzzle box. They simply were home. The Strangers not only puts the idea in the audience head that the crime like this could very well happen, but also that it could happen to them. Dun dun dun. So yeah, I figured I'd cover The Strangers because there's the new Strangers movie coming out. So I was like, yeah, I wanted to do basically a episode on how it's based off of a true story. I did another one. Like I said, I love those style of episodes, and I've been wanting to do them more often. And October is a good chance for me to do that because I cover spooky stuff during October. I did an episode earlier this month. Actually, it was the last episode before I got really sick and took a bunch of days off. But Sleepy Hollow is real. Not the story, but the town, the area. Go check that episode out. It was an interesting one. So, Strangers Chapter 2 review. This was September 26, 2025. So this is the newest one. Apparently it's still in theaters, or it was earlier this week. So, yeah, I could see that being in theater for about 2 weeks. This person says Strangers Chapter 2 review. I am so confused right now. I'm guessing that the movie was not that good. I don't remember what the couple said. I'm going to have to ask them next time they come in. What'd you guys say about The Strangers? Was it good? The opening sequence of The Strangers Chapter 2 is and by the way, we're not going to go through the whole article, but just a little bit. It's a promising start to what soon becomes a bafflingly bad movie. Since Chapter 1, I had been hopeful that the trilogy would find purpose for itself beyond being a remake. I honestly thought all the claims of Chapter 2's irredeemable incompetence were just exaggerations meant to appease the algorithmic machine spirits. Let he who has not written an inflammatory article title cast the first stone. But no, it is actually that bad. We pick back up at the protagonist, Maya, in the hospital, mourning the loss of her boyfriend, to a trio of deranged mass killers struggling with wounds physically, mentally, and emotionally. She's soon forced to get back on her feet and keep running after the titular strangers arrive at the hospital she's recovering in. Despite the honesty, very strong camera work in this environment, the game is given away early when you realize how long Maya has been running from room to room, evading an axe-wielding maniac with a cartoon logic. You soon understand the dire truth of the film as she escapes from the hospital morgue into town. Oh, good Lord, we're going to do this same thing for the entire movie, aren't we? 'Cause, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in theaters for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, I could see that being in So yeah, doesn't look like there's good reviews for the newest Strangers. I'll still check out. I need to see at least the first one, which is based off the Manson murders. I didn't know it had Liv Tyler. I'm definitely gonna check it out, the 2008 one. And I didn't realize the series was that old. Like I said, I had just seen the one that was based in the trailer park. I liked it. I love horror movies that are based off of true stories. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe, and there will be more episodes hopefully tomorrow. See you guys.